Hey headphone people, MrAyrit here. Got a quick amp review for you today, and that is of this guy, the Topping A30Pro. Now, I read a lot of good stuff, heard a lot of good stuff about this little amp, and you know, I mean, for the most part it's true, but I also don't think it's really anything super special, at least when it comes to sound. So let's dig into it a little bit. I'll show you kind of what you get with it, what it looks like, all the I/O, all that stuff, and then we'll talk sound impressions. But if you want the quick, the super fast version of this, is I think it's is sound quality wise is pretty similar to what you'll find with TJX stuff, the other Topping stuff, the clean shit stuff like the Heresy or the Magnius. I mean, most of that's here. I don't feel like it really stands out in that regard. But again, let's dig in. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So I'm not going to do an unboxing. It's already unboxed. It comes in a Topping box. I think Topping, every single Topping thing I've gotten comes in the same exact box, basically. So neither here nor there, it's fine. I'm not a huge box person. I don't care about that a whole lot, but if you do, just know it's nothing too spectacular. Power cable, it's the power supply is built into the amp, which I always like that and appreciate that. But it's just a typical PC power cord. Again, I appreciate that, but nothing super of note there. What is of note with this guy is the build quality. It is a phenomenally built product. It just feels so nice. I don't know how else to say it. It feels extremely well made. I'd say it feels nicer than the Schiit stuff. It feels nicer than my Singzer SA1 that's over there. So just build quality wise, this thing is just fantastic. It's got heft to it. It feels good. All the switches and things just have a nice little snap to them when you're doing them. The volume pot on this is just, oh man, the knob feel is just fantastic on this guy. Like, just so smooth, and there's just the right amount of resistance. I mean, really satisfying build with this thing. Of course, you've probably seen, it has a ton of kind of porting on the top, porting on the sides, porting there, lots of porting on it. And it does get relatively warm. I mean, not super hot or anything like that, but it gets warm. All that looks really nice in my opinion. I kind of like it, a little bit more of like an industrial look to it. As far as the I/O goes, you've got input selector on the front here, which can be, you can do off on the front, which is cool, XLR and RCA. And then you've got your gains, low, medium, high, and 4-pin, a 4.4, and a regular, 1/4 inch for headphones on the back. Plenty of stuff going on back here, Balanced in, which are XLR, RCA in, RCA out, and then balanced out. But this is weird, and you've probably heard this if you looked at the A30Pro, is it's got like a 1/4 inch like TRS balance connection, which is it's a little bit odd. All that really means to you is if you're gonna use it as some sort of a preamp, then pretty much you're gonna have to buy like a little bit of a special cable or adapters to go with it, and I'll link some of those down below just so you know what you're looking at there. And then you got this ground lift switch, which I guess I can't say I really totally understand that, but it's like if you're having some sort of a ground loop issue, you can use this and hopefully it'll fix that, I guess. But you'll have to do your more research on that if you need to. It doesn't sound like most people are ever going to need to use that, but if you need it, you need it, I guess. And then of course you've got your power in, and you've got an on off on the back. So you can do on off on the back or the front, which is kind of cool, I think. So all in all, yeah, I really enjoy the build of this. I think it's fantastically made and machined, and just feels excellent, honestly, and looks excellent too. It is a fairly compact amplifier, and I didn't want to go to the trouble. You know what, I'm not going to go to the trouble of unhooking my Singzer to do this, but I will cut to some b-roll here to show you it compared to the Singzer, but it's significantly smaller. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So it's got a lot of connections, it's got a lot of functionality. I think it probably will do just about anything you want to do with it, and it all feels really good interacting with it. Hey, just a quick note here that I wanted to put in because I don't usually use preamps a whole lot, or haven't, but I got some new little monitor speakers here, and turns out that the A30Pro doesn't work as a preamp. It's only a pass-through, which really shocked me when I first plugged my active monitors into them. So because I thought the volume was going to be much, much lower, and I was worried that I blew my speakers. So just know that not a preamp, it's just pass-through through the RCAs, and I assume the balance outs, which I didn't actually try. So that's it. Outside of that, continue with the review. It's got a lot of power, 6 watts into 16 ohms, and something like, I think, 840 milliwatts, maybe into 600 ohms. So should have theoretically plenty of power for just about any headphone you're gonna throw at it. I can't say I spent a ton of time with this, but as far as driving things, yeah, it seems to do it just fine. I mean, I've got the HE6 SE here, and I drove it off this. I didn't particularly love it on this, but it seemed like it drove it okay. Guess I still haven't heard the HE6 on anything more than just like my Singzer, which supposedly, you know, if you give it more power, it sounds better and stuff like that, but I haven't had that opportunity. What gets me with this amp, and this is kind of the crux of the sound, is like, it as I kind of alluded to in the beginning, I don't feel like it stands out sound-wise compared to any of the other really clean amplifiers that I've tried. So over the last year or however long it's been, I've had the Magnius, I've had the Schiit Heresy, I've had the IEMagni, I've had the THX 789, I've had the SP200, so I've kind of had all those, and they all do have, you know, minor differences between them, but in general, they all can come off maybe a little bit colder and perhaps have a little bit more of an edge than something with a little more nuance like the Singzer. So comparing this to the Singzer, which is the amp that I'm kind of just in love with right now, I just feel like this, it sounds very similar to me to, you know, the Jotunheim 2 or the like I said, the IEMagni. Like, I feel like they sound good and they're clean, but they also have just kind of a lifelessness to them that doesn't seem natural and organic the way the Singzer does. And I think, like, with the topping, I feel like, you know, it just isn't quite as dynamic and nuanced as the Singzer. So I mean, the information is there, but it just seems a little bit more condensed, and it seems like there isn't as much kind of space and information in between notes. The decays of notes don't seem quite as well fleshed out to me, and certainly it's a tighter, more compressed, condensed feeling presentation compared to the Singzer. And the Singzer, I just feel like it does such a nice job of opening things up and rounding the edges of stuff. So you got the information, but there aren't like these abrupt edges to things. It just has such a nice natural like roll off and decay to it. Whereas I feel like the topping can come off a little more lifeless and clinical, and it still sounds good and clean and clear and all that, but it just doesn't do anything special, I don't think. And, you know, so for me, if you're talking about an amp like that's just super clean and kind of your standard, you know, your standard cleanly amplifier, I would just buy, if it was me, I guess I'd just get the IEMagni, unless you really want balanced. The one thing that I would say for this is, again, you know, it feels really nice to interact with. So if you want balanced and you want just like a device that feels really good to interact with, then this is good. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but it also just isn't special. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's my thoughts on this. So at 300, at like its retail value at like 360, 370, there's no way I'd touch this amplifier, I'll tell you that much. You can easily get a Jotunheim 2 for around $300 used now. The IEMagni, I think, if you're going for this type of sound, you can get them for like 120 bucks, and that's probably where I would start, honestly, if you want to know if you like this type of a sound. And I don't really think this is going to get you much further than that does, as far as that super clean type of sound goes. The Singzer is special, I think, especially compared to the rest of these kind of amps that I've mentioned here. I feel like it's just got more life to it, more nuance, more openness, more, it just has a quality to it that is just really enjoyable, while also being very clean, a very clean presentation, but just it's got a little bit more to it, I feel like, than the rest of these type of amplifiers. So I bought my Singzer for $400, and I've seen them regularly used for $450. So if you were looking at buying an A30Pro new, I would say consider buying used and consider buying a Singzer. And I think that extra $100 or so that you would spend, I think that is a totally worthwhile jump to go. Whereas I feel like if you got something like a Heresy or an IEMagni and you're like wondering if this is going to be like an upgrade for you, I don't think so, really. I would just stick with that until you're ready to go up a little bit more, I would say. So yeah, not bad, beautifully built, but not special either. So that's my review of the A30Pro. And yeah, I will drop some links down below for stuff mentioned in this video. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one. So a rather quick review. You know, we'll see how things go here, but I honestly feel like I'm really kind of rounding out a lot of my collection at this point, and especially with the source gear. I just feel like with the stuff that I've got now, which is Bifrost 2, Singzer SA1, my little X-Can for portable use, and the Valhalla 2 for some tube flavor, I don't know that I need to test a whole lot more source gear. I feel like I've been kind of testing some, and I'm not getting past those things. I just come back to those and think they all do a really nice job. So I do still need to review the Valhalla 2, so that'll be coming at some point here. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm always open to more source gear, but I think I'm done spending a whole lot of my own money on it, at least at this point. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And if you found this useful, as always, you know, subscribe, comment, alternative opinions. Let's get a dialogue going below if you want. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by.